The day humanity was rejected, the entire galaxy went silent. Not because of war. Not because of a supernova. Not because an ancient alien empire had returned. The silence came from a single announcement broadcast across millions of star systems. Humanity had been rejected. After nearly 2 centuries of exploration, diplomacy, trade agreements, and scientific cooperation, Earth finally stood before the Galactic Assembly, the most powerful political organization in known space. The assembly consisted of thousands of species. Every major civilization belonged to it. Every major civilization except one: humanity. Inside the enormous assembly chamber on the world of Valoria Prime, the billions watched as the final vote appeared. Earth's membership application denied. A bright red symbol flashed across the chamber. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then whispers spread like wildfire. The humans failed. They were never truly one of us. Too unpredictable. Too dangerous. At the center of the chamber sat Ambassador Elena Torres, Earth's representative. She looked at the result. She didn't argue. She didn't beg. She didn't even look angry. Instead, she smiled. That confused everyone. The Supreme Chancellor of the Assembly, the towering 6-eyed alien named Vexa, cleared his throat. Ambassador Torres, according to Galactic Charter, Earth may reapply in 50 standard years. The chamber waited for her response. Elena stood calmly. Thank you. That was all. No protest. No outrage. No dramatic speech. Just 2 words. The aliens exchanged puzzled looks. Had humanity finally accepted its place? The truth was far stranger. Back on Earth, people were gathering around screens in every city. Children watched from classrooms. Workers watched from factories. Scientists watched from research stations on Mars. Everyone saw the same vote. And everyone reacted the same way. They laughed. Not nervous laughter. Not bitter laughter. Genuine laughter. Across the galaxy, analysts became confused. Why wasn't humanity upset? Why weren't they demanding explanations? Because humanity already knew exactly what had happened. For years, Earth's diplomats had sensed resistance within the assembly. Many powerful species feared humans. Not because humans were strong. Not because humans were rich. Because humans refused to think like everyone else. Most civilizations specialized. One species mastered medicine. Another mastered engineering. Another mastered trade. Another mastered military strategy. Humanity mastered everything. Not perfectly, but well enough. Humans constantly crossed boundaries. Scientists became soldiers. Engineers became explorers. Farmers became inventors. Pilots became entrepreneurs. Aliens found that behavior deeply unsettling. Humans were impossible to predict. Even worse, they inspired others to question old traditions. Young aliens admired humanity. Governments feared humanity. The rejection vote had been planned for years. A quiet effort by powerful species determined to keep Earth outside the inner circle. They believed exclusion would weaken humanity. They were wrong. Very wrong. Hours after the vote, Elena Torres returned to Earth. A global press conference was held in Geneva. Millions expected disappointment. Instead, Elena stepped onto the stage smiling. Behind her stood scientists, military leaders, business executives, and representatives from Earth's colonies. She looked directly into the cameras. Today, she said, the galaxy made its choice. The room became silent. Then she continued. And today, humanity makes ours. Curiosity spread instantly. What does that mean? Reporters shouted. Elena smiled wider. For 200 years we asked for a seat at their table. She paused. Today we realized something important. What? We don't need their table. The room exploded with questions. But Elena raised her hand. The assembly believes excluding humanity limits our future. She shook her head. They have misunderstood us completely. Behind her, a massive screen activated. Thousands of star systems appeared. Unknown systems. Unclaimed systems. Regions beyond assembly territory. The unexplored frontier. Gasps filled the room. Elena pointed toward the stars. They can keep their galaxy. A spark appeared in her eyes. We'll build our own future. And at that moment, humanity stopped asking for permission. The galaxy had just made the biggest mistake in its history. The frontier beyond the galaxy. The reaction from the Galactic Assembly was immediate. And arrogant. Inside the halls of power on Valoria Prime, senators, admirals, and diplomats watched Elena Torres' speech with amusement. One senator laughed. They are bluffing. Another nodded. Where will they go? The frontier is empty. A military strategist added, the unexplored sectors are filled with dangers. Humans will return within a decade begging for membership. Around the chamber, an agreement spread. To the assembly, humanity's announcement sounded like the tantrum of a rejected civilization. But they had forgotten one important fact. Humans had always been at their most dangerous when everyone thought they were foolish. Back on Earth, Operation Horizon began. It had been secretly prepared for nearly 30 years. The moment humanity suspected rejection was inevitable, governments, corporations, and colonies had quietly united behind a single goal. If the galaxy closed one door, humanity would build 1,000 more. Construction yards around Earth, Mars, Titan, and dozens of orbital habitats suddenly came alive. Gigantic shipyards opened hidden compartments. Massive vessels emerged from dry docks. The galaxy was shocked. No one had known these ships existed. Not because humanity hid them well. Because nobody had bothered to look. The first vessel measured nearly 20 kilometers long. Then came another. Then 20 more. Exploration ships. Colony ships. Mining platforms. Scientific arcs. Entire floating cities designed to travel beyond known space. Assembly intelligence agencies scrambled to investigate. The reports terrified them. For decades, while diplomats attended meetings and trade summits, humanity had quietly invested in expansion. Not military expansion. Frontier expansion. The human fleet wasn't built for war. It was built for possibility. 3 months after the rejection vote, the first fleet departed. Billions gathered across Earth to watch. Families filled parks and rooftops. Children waved flags. Veterans stood proudly. As thousands of ships rose toward the stars, a message was broadcast across every human world. The speaker was not a politician. Not a general. Not even a scientist. It was an old-school teacher named Margaret Hill. At 86 years old, she had spent her life teaching history. Her voice trembled slightly as she spoke. Humanity has always lived at the edge of maps. The crowds listened. When one horizon ends, we search for another. Images appeared behind her. Ancient sailors crossing oceans. Early pilots flying through storms. Astronauts stepping onto the moon. Martian settlers building the first colony. We were never meant to stay in one place. Tears appeared in many eyes. Margaret smiled gently. The galaxy thinks they have excluded us. She looked toward the stars. They don't understand. A pause. No one can exile explorers from the frontier. Cheers erupted across every human settlement. The fleets accelerated. Then vanished into hyperspace. Months passed. Then years. At first, the assembly ignored humanity. Then reports began arriving. Unexpected reports. A remote trade vessel encountered a human colony. Not struggling. Thriving. A scientific expedition discovered another. Then another. Then another. Every year the reports multiplied. Human settlements appeared across regions once considered worthless. Dangerous nebulae. Harsh star systems. Unstable planets. Places no assembly species wanted. Humans transformed them all. Where others saw obstacles, the humans saw opportunities. Then came the discoveries. New energy sources. Rare minerals. Ancient alien ruins. Unknown scientific phenomena. The frontier contained treasures beyond imagination. Treasures humanity now controlled. Economic analysts grew concerned. 5 years became 10. 10 became 15. Human trade networks expanded rapidly. Independent species began trading directly with Earth. Then something even more alarming happened. Young aliens started leaving assembly space. Not as refugees. As volunteers. Engineers. Scientists. Entrepreneurs. They wanted to work with humans. They wanted to see the frontier. The assembly tried to stop the migration. It failed completely. The human frontier represented freedom. Freedom to experiment. Freedom to explore. Freedom to build. Every restriction imposed by the assembly seemed outdated compared to humanity's growing civilization. Finally, 20 years after Earth's rejection, the Galactic Assembly commissioned a full economic review. The results stunned everyone. Human-controlled territory now generated more wealth than several founding assembly members combined. A nervous silence filled the chamber. The species that had once mocked humanity now stared at the data in disbelief. One senator whispered the question nobody wanted to ask. What if excluding them made them stronger? No one answered. Because deep down, they already knew the truth. While the galaxy had spent 20 years protecting its old system, humanity had spent 20 years building the future. And they were only getting started. The signal from the darkness. 23 years after humanity walked away from the Galactic Assembly, the impossible happened. A signal emerged from deep space. Not from assembly territory. Not from human colonies. From somewhere far beyond both. The transmission appeared simultaneously across thousands of listening stations. For several minutes, nobody understood what they were hearing. Then the scientists realized the truth. It was not a distress call. It was not a greeting. It was a warning. Across the galaxy, governments entered emergency sessions. Military fleets moved to high alert. Research teams worked around the clock trying to decode the mysterious message. The signal repeated continuously. Ancient. Powerful. Terrifying. And hidden within its structure was evidence that shocked everyone. The source was moving. Fast. Very fast. Toward the galaxy. The Galactic Assembly immediately formed an emergency council. For the first time in decades, fear replaced political arguments. Experts projected simulations across giant screens. The object responsible for the signal was enormous. Larger than some moons. Larger than many space stations. Whatever it was, it had been traveling through intergalactic space for thousands of years. And now it was approaching. A worried senator asked the obvious question. Can we stop it? The military commanders exchanged nervous glances. No one knew. The assembly possessed thousands of war fleets. Millions of ships. Weapons capable of destroying planets. But they had never faced something like this. Then another disturbing discovery appeared. The object's trajectory would bring it directly through assembly territory. Panic spread quickly. News networks exploded with speculation. Some believed it was an ancient weapon. Others feared it was a forgotten civilization. Many predicted the end of the galaxy itself. As the crisis deepened, someone finally raised an uncomfortable question. What about the humans? The room fell silent. Humanity had become impossible to ignore. Their frontier civilization now stretched across thousands of systems. Their scientific achievements regularly surpassed assembly research. Their industrial capacity was legendary. Most importantly, much of the approaching object's path crossed regions controlled by humans. Reluctantly, the assembly sent a diplomatic request to Earth. The message was simple. Assistance requested. For days, no response came. Many feared humanity would refuse. After all, these were the same governments that had spent decades excluding them. Then Earth's answer finally arrived. The response contained only one sentence. We are already investigating. The assembly members stared at the message. Already investigating. How? The answer arrived shortly afterward. Human exploration vessels had detected the object nearly 6 years earlier. 6 years. While assembly scientists had remained unaware, human deep space networks had been studying it continuously. Even more shocking, humanity had already launched missions toward it. The emergency council erupted into chaos. 6 years. Why weren't we informed? What else do they know? Hours later, a live transmission appeared from the frontier. The speaker was Admiral Seren Okomura, commander of humanity's deep exploration fleet. Behind her stood a massive observation window showing countless stars. Her expression remained calm. The object is not a weapon. Relief spread through the chamber. Then she continued. It is worse. The relief vanished instantly. Sarah activated a holographic display. An enormous structure appeared. Its size dwarfed entire fleets. Ancient metallic surfaces covered thousands of kilometers. Energy readings exceeded anything ever recorded. This object, Sarah explained, is a mobile artificial construct. The room became silent. Artificial. Someone had built it. A senator swallowed hard. Sarah's answer chilled everyone. We don't know. The hologram zoomed in. Gigantic scars covered portions of the structure. Evidence of unimaginable battles. Civilizations had fought this thing before. And lost. Then came the most frightening revelation. The signal was finally translated. Every species listened as the ancient message echoed through the chamber. A voice spoke in a language billions of years old. Translated into modern speech, it said, "Containment failure detected." The room froze. The message continued. "Evacuation impossible." Another pause. Then the final line. "If you receive this signal, run." Silence. Absolute silence. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Assembly had no answers. No solutions. No plan. But far beyond assembly territory, humanity was already preparing. Because while the galaxy debated what to do, humans had spent 6 years getting ready. And what they had discovered inside the ancient construct would soon change everything. Humanity's greatest secret. The warning spread across the galaxy like wildfire. If you receive this signal, run. Those 5 words shattered centuries of confidence. Worlds that had once felt safe suddenly seemed vulnerable. Trade routes slowed. Military fleets mobilized. Entire governments began preparing evacuation plans. Fear had become universal. But while panic consumed the Galactic Assembly, humanity remained strangely calm. That frightened everyone even more. A special emergency summit was called. For the first time in history, Earth was invited as an equal partner. Not because the Assembly wanted to. Because they had no choice. The meeting took place aboard Horizon Station, a colossal human-built structure floating between stars. Representatives from hundreds of species arrived. Many expected to find desperate humans scrambling for solutions. Instead, they found confidence, preparation, purpose. Ambassador Elena Torres entered the conference hall and immediately noticed something unusual. The alien leaders looked different than they had 20 years ago. Older, more cautious, less arrogant. The galaxy that had once rejected humanity was now looking toward Earth for help. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The Supreme Chancellor Vexa spoke first. His voice carried none of its former superiority. Humanity possesses information we do not. Elena nodded. Yes. The direct answer made several senators uncomfortable. Vexa continued. Then please tell us everything. Elena remained silent for several moments. Then she activated a holographic display. A map of the galaxy appeared. Thousands of human colonies glowed across the frontier. The scale shocked many delegates. Few had realized how large humanity's civilization had become. Then another layer appeared. Research stations, exploration networks, deep space monitoring systems. The aliens stared in disbelief. Humanity had built the largest scientific observation network in galactic history. Quietly. Without permission. Without approval. Without anyone noticing. Elena pointed toward the approaching construct. We discovered it 29 years ago. Gasps filled the chamber. Not 6 years. 29. The assembly representatives looked horrified. What have you learned? Someone asked. Elena took a deep breath. A lot. The display zoomed into the gigantic structure. Detailed scans appeared. Internal corridors. Energy systems. Ancient machinery. Human exploration teams had actually entered the construct years earlier. The room erupted with shocked voices. You boarded it. Multiple times. You survived. Elena smiled slightly. Humans are curious. That answer somehow made the situation even more terrifying. A scientist from one of the oldest species stood. What is it carrying? The room became silent. Everyone wanted the answer. Elena's expression grew serious. The construct was never meant to be a ship. Confused looks spread throughout the audience. She continued. It was a prison. The silence became absolute. A prison. The enormous object crossing intergalactic space wasn't transporting passengers. It wasn't exploring. It wasn't invading. It was containing something. Something dangerous enough to require a prison larger than a moon. Someone finally whispered the question everyone feared. What was imprisoned? Elena hesitated. Then she answered. We don't know exactly. A nervous wave moved through the crowd. But we know one thing. The holographic display changed again. Ancient recordings appeared. Images recovered from the prison's databanks. Alien civilizations unlike anything known today. Powerful. Advanced. Ancient beyond imagination. All of them had participated in building the prison. Thousands of species. Thousands of empires. United by a common enemy. And every one of them was gone. Extinct. The realization hit like a hammer. Whatever had been locked inside had destroyed civilizations far more advanced than the current galaxy. Then Elena revealed humanity's final discovery. The prison was failing. Not someday. Not centuries from now. Soon. Very soon. Fear swept across the chamber. Military commanders demanded options. Scientists demanded data. Politicians demanded answers. Elena listened patiently. Then she surprised everyone. We already have a plan. The room froze. You have a plan? Vexa asked. Elena nodded. Humanity began preparing 20 years ago. The display shifted once more. This time showing hidden shipyards, massive fleets, gigantic engineering projects, structures so enormous they dwarfed planetary cities. The assembly delegates stared in disbelief. Humanity hadn't spent 2 decades simply expanding. They had been preparing for this exact moment. Preparing for a threat no one else even knew existed. One senator looked at the images and whispered, "How long have humans expected this?" Alena answered quietly, "Since before you rejected us." The room fell silent. Because suddenly everyone understood. The day humanity smiled and walked away from the galaxy. They hadn't been abandoning the future. They had been running toward it. And now, as the ancient prison approached and the countdown to catastrophe accelerated, humanity was the only civilization ready for what came next. Humanity's final answer. The countdown had begun. Across the galaxy, billions watched the ancient prison drift closer. Every hour, new failures appeared in its containment systems. Energy fluctuations increased. Structural fractures spread. The warnings grew louder. For the first time in recorded history, every civilization faced the same terrifying possibility. Extinction. The Galactic Assembly mobilized everything it had. Thousands of fleets gathered. Planetary defenses activated. Scientists searched desperately for solutions. Nothing worked. The prison was simply too old. Too damaged. Too vast. Then the inevitable happened. A containment core collapsed. Alarms echoed across monitoring stations. The ancient construct shook violently. Massive cracks spread through its surface. And something inside moved. The entire galaxy watched in horror. For billions of years, countless civilizations had sacrificed everything to keep that entity imprisoned. Now the prison was opening. The assembly prepared for war. But humanity did something unexpected. They moved toward the threat. Thousands of human ships accelerated directly toward the prison. Not warships. Not battleships. The gigantic engineering vessels that humanity had secretly built over decades. The same mysterious projects revealed at Horizon Station. The Supreme Chancellor Vexa stared at the tactical displays. What are they doing? No one answered. Then a transmission arrived from Earth. Ambassador Alena Torres appeared one final time. Behind her stood representatives from every human colony. Old. Young. Scientists. Farmers. Explorers. Teachers. Ordinary people. Humanity itself. Alena looked into the camera. The galaxy believes our greatest strength is our technology. She smiled. It isn't. Images appeared behind her. Ancient wooden ships crossing unknown oceans. Engineers building railroads through wilderness. Astronauts walking on distant worlds. Colonists transforming barren planets into thriving homes. Human history. Human perseverance. Human courage. Our strength has never been power. Her voice became stronger. It has always been hope. The transmission ended. The galaxy watched as humanity's fleets reached the prison. Then the purpose of those enormous engineering vessels became clear. They weren't weapons. They were builders. For 20 years, humanity had been constructing something unprecedented. A new prison. A stronger prison. A better prison. Millions of autonomous machines poured from human ships. Megastructures unfolded across space. Energy networks linked together. Entire fleets sacrificed themselves to stabilize collapsing sections of the ancient construct. Species across the galaxy watched in stunned silence. Humans weren't trying to destroy the threat. They were trying to contain it. Trying to save everyone. Even the civilizations that had rejected them. Then came the final crisis. The entity inside awakened. For a brief moment, every sensor in the galaxy registered its presence. A consciousness older than stars. Older than civilizations. Older than memory itself. Fear spread through billions of minds. The prison began breaking apart faster than expected. Human calculations suddenly failed. The new containment network would not finish in time. Panic erupted. The galaxy's final hope was slipping away. Then something remarkable happened. The assembly fleets moved. Without orders. Without debate. Thousands of alien ships accelerated toward the construction zone. Then tens of thousands. Then hundreds of thousands. Species that had spent centuries competing began working together. Former rivals shared technology. Military fleets became engineering fleets. Resources flowed from every corner of the galaxy. Humanity had shown them the way. Now the galaxy followed. For 3 days and 3 nights, the greatest cooperative effort in history unfolded. And finally, the new prison activated. A wave of brilliant light spread across space. Containment fields locked into place. The ancient entity vanished behind barriers stronger than anything ever created. The danger was over. The galaxy had survived. Celebrations erupted across countless worlds. But the most important event happened weeks later. The Galactic Assembly held another vote. This time, the result appeared instantly. Earth's membership application approved. Thunderous applause filled the chamber. Everyone looked toward Ambassador Elena Torres. They expected acceptance. They expected triumph. Instead, Elena smiled the same smile she had worn 20 years earlier. Then she stood. Thank you. The room waited. But humanity respectfully declines. Silence. Complete silence. Elena looked around the chamber. We no longer need membership. Shock spread everywhere. Then she continued. We wanted acceptance once. Her voice softened. Now we want partnership. A new charter appeared on the chamber screens. Not an assembly charter. A shared charter. One built by humans and supported by dozens of frontier civilizations. Its first line read, no species stands above another. Many delegates wiped tears from their eyes. At that moment, the old galaxy officially ended. And a new one began. The galaxy had once decided to exclude Earth. Humanity had smiled and walked away. Not out of anger. Not out of pride. But because explorers know a secret that others often forget. When one door closes, the horizon remains. And beyond every horizon, humanity keeps walking.